Hello, you're watching Ellie from Elementary Paper Crafting. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK. But some time ago, I did a stamped sheet. I was going to call it a one-sheet wonder, but it was actually half of a piece of A4 white cardstock. And I used the SALE-A-BRATION stamp set, which is called Textures and Frames. And this is a free item from our SALE-A-BRATION catalogue, which is live from the 3rd of August through to the end of September, sorry. So you need to purchase items up to the value of £45, and then you can get this stamp set absolutely free. Brilliant offer. So I've done something quite unlikely. I've actually teamed with this Celebrate Sunflowers. So I'm going to use this stamp set to decorate this backing sheet. Now I've gone ahead and I've done a lot of the preparation beforehand so as to keep the video shorter. So what I've done ahead of time is I've prepared a card base. Now this is what we call an A5 card base in Britain, and I've done it in landscape style. I really like this kind of style of card. Often when people use an A5 landscape, they'll use it as a tent fold, but I really like the way this opens, like, you know, a traditional card. In case you're not familiar with A5, it measures 8 1/4 by about 5 3/4. Now, yes, I did have to use a sheet of A3 to create this card. So if you don't want to use a whole sheet, you know, if you haven't got A3 card and you want to use A4, then simply take a piece of A4 and fold it in half that way and have a tent fold, and it gives you the same size. So how you do your card base is up to you. You can, of course, just use an ordinary smaller size card and reduce the backing sheet, etc. So for this particular exercise, the size of the card is irrelevant. It's just the stamping of the background I wanted to show you and how I'm going to use mine. I've cut that card down to 5 1/4 by 7 3/4. Then I've taken a piece of crumb cake cardstock, which was 8 by 5 1/2. And I've actually gutted it. So as you can see, that's the bit I took out of there. So that takes away the bulk, and then you've got some card left for another project. I hate wastage. So I've stuck that to that. And then I'm simply going to adhere that to the front of my card. So let's just quickly do that now. I've used double-sided tape for this. Sometimes that's abbreviated to DST, or in the Stampin' Up catalogue it's actually called tear and tape. So let's just pop this. I think I'll have it that way around. Now I like to just, as you see, take the corners of the tape off and get it to where I want it to be, and then put pressure on the corners and then just whip the tape off like that. Okay, so that's my card base prepared. Now I've gone ahead again, and from the Celebrate Sunflowers cling stamp, I've chosen the large sunflower, the small sunflower, and the large and the smaller leaves. And I've gone ahead and I stamped those out using our soft suede stamp pad, ink pad. Okay, now as you'll see from this one, I've already coloured this one in. It doesn't really take a long time, but it's not something you really need to watch me doing a lot of, because it's quite a simple thing to do, but it can be boring just watching someone colouring in. I'm going to show you that I used our blender pens and 3 of our watercolour pencils. There are 2 sets of watercolour pencils. This is my first set. I should get the other set next time I order. and I found them really, really useful. So all I've done is, as I've said previously, stamped it in the soft suede, and then I've used just 3 colours. So I'll just show you how I do this colouring. So I've chosen the lighter green, which is granny apple green, and just colouring over the entire leaf. And yes, I know I've gone out of the lines, but that really doesn't matter. Then I've just gone into the centre of the leaf with the darker green, just where the centre vein is, and this one is garden green. And then I'm using the blender brushes. Don't get these muddled up with the blends. The blends are alcohol markers. These are just blenders to blend the watercolour pencil. You can, of course, use a dampened paintbrush to do this, and I've done that lots of times in the past. However, when you're using ordinary cardstock rather than watercolour cardstock, you might find that the surface of the card pills when you add water, and we don't really want that. So that's why the blender pens are your real friend when you're using ordinary cardstock. So as I said, this one I've already done, and just to show you how simple it is, you just colour over. It doesn't have to be carefully, it doesn't have to be slow and laborious. It's simply colouring very roughly, I would say, just all over like so. Now I've actually used crushed curry for this one because it's the only yellow that actually comes in this particular set of watercolour pencils. I would have preferred to use either So Saffron or Daffodil Delight. So when I get the other set, I should be able to get a truer sunflower colour. But it's not really vital that I get the exact colour. And anyone who's used Stampin' Up products or any kind of inking products will know that later on the colour does actually fade down. So that's fine, and that's all you need to do. It's so simple. Now obviously you do use a different end for the different colour, but you don't need one for every colour. You know, as long as you just use one end for all your greens and a different end for all the yellows, etc., you'll find you've got plenty there. And then I'm just going to use my Stampin' Up snips to cut this out. And yeah, it is fussy cutting, which some of you might not enjoy, but to be honest with you, I'm not overly careful with this. A lot of people do cut and leave quite a white line around this. Personally, I prefer to cut right up to the line, but that's personal preference. You do what you like to do. There is a die set that goes with this, which I didn't actually buy, and I'm quite happy to do this fussy cutting. I don't find it very difficult. I don't find it very time-consuming. So for me, I quite enjoy doing this. I will speed this up a little bit though, to make it less boring for you. Right, well that literally took me about 3 minutes. So that's done. Now, for the leaves, I again used the soft suede stamp pad, but I stamped onto old olive cardstock, so the leaves are already green. And then it's just a case of mounting these onto my cardstock, my card front, I should say. So I'm going to bring my sunflower down. I like these little bits that are curling around the middle to be at the base of the flower. That's just my personal preference. You can put them wherever you like. That's obviously up to you. And I'm going to use stamping dimensionals for this. I think this will look much nicer if it's raised up on the card slightly. You don't need to go mad with the dimensionals. 3 is ample for this. And let's just pop that, well, there. So then I'm taking the leaves and just popping them where I think they will be pleasing to the eye. And as you can see, I just pop them in and around as I think they will look good. Might put those more at an angle. In fact, I think I might pop one over the other like that and bring that one in. Okay, so then let's look for my Tombow. Here we go. Let's see if this will play nicely today. So just pop this one on first. Now, using, you know, these geometric shapes with flowers, I admit would not have occurred to me some time ago. But my Stampin' Up grandmother, so that's my upline's upline, is Ruth from Artful Stampin'. And she did this some time ago with different stamp sets, completely different designs. But she brought the flowers in with geometrics, and I was so surprised at how good it looked. It was just yesterday, in fact, I pulled this backing sheet out and thought, gosh, I'd forgotten I'd done this. Thought, yeah, I must use it. I've got to show you what I did with it. And I sat there for a while and thought, I really don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know what I'm going to use it with. And that's when it suddenly came to me that I could use the florals with it. So that's my leaves stuck down. And then this one, I'm just going to bring down to the bottom here. So we've got a flow of design coming down there. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this one. Yeah, I might put the leaves in the opposite direction. Yeah, I think like that. And I'm going to use that circle there. I don't want this to come up as well. I think that's enough. There we go. So to finish this card off, I'm going to stamp a greeting. So I've chosen Let's Celebrate You. So this can be used for any occasion. Now I'm just going to switch on my heat gun. Sorry about the noise. So just bringing in a piece of basic white cardstock and my Versamark ink pad and my anti-static powder tool, which I almost forgot. When you use that, put it on your fingers as well, because it takes off any oiliness, and this helps your embossing powder not to stick to the card. So I keep my golden embossing powder in a little plastic container, and I've got just a piece of card that I use underneath to collect any powder. Actually, if I put that in there, hopefully the powder will go straight back into my pot. But that card's there underneath because I always spill a little bit. It's unavoidable. You just flick it from the back to get rid of any excess, and then pop that back into your pot. Heat gun's nice and warm. Just heat the card from the back first, just to warm it up a bit, and then from the front you can just go ahead and heat up the embossing powder. Don't overheat it. Once it's turned into that lovely shiny finish, that's it, done. Don't keep going over it because that won't help. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this down. I always find it easier to stamp onto my main card and then cut round it. I then often find if I cut a piece of card the actual size I want, I sometimes find then that I spoil it by not stamping straight. Now this is a straight edge here, so I'm going to put that straight edge on this straight edge to make sure I get this straight. So I'm just coming down with my blade. So now I've got that bit's dead straight, so I can straighten that up here and just cut round it so I get the exact size that I want for my card. I'll just take a little tiny bit off the top. Yeah, that's fine. Now my Stampin' Up trimmer is absolutely fantastic. I really love that piece of equipment. It's brilliant for cutting and scoring. The only thing I do find is it does leave a little bit of I don't know how to describe it other than a little edge on the card, but just as I just saw me do, just go along with your bone folder all the way around and that gets rid of it completely. So I'm going to pop this onto my card at the top there, and I actually think it could do with lifting up a little. I'm going to use some So Saffron just to bring that up a little. Always, I've said this to you before, always keep your scraps of cardstock because they always come in useful. So yeah, I'm just going to pop that on there. Just pop that on, and I think that just lifts it up off the card. Lovely. So let's add a couple of dimensionals to this one too. And add that just there. So I hope you like that. Very quickly put together. So if you were watching my first video where I actually stamped this, you'll see that that didn't take an awful lot of time either. but the overall effect, I think, is quite pleasing. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to shop with me, you will find a link to my online store. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description box below, and I will include the host code for this month. If you use the host code when you order, you will receive an extra little free gift from me. So if you're watching on Facebook, there will be a button at the top of the page which says shop now, and if you click there, you'll go into my online Stampin' Up store. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd be very grateful if you would click the like button, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow my Facebook channel, and sharing is always appreciated. So bye bye for now, and hope to see you again soon.